talk, can I? Yeah, I can talk. I can't hear myself, though. Well, hello and welcome to Portimao and the 24 hours of Portimao, part of the Hankook European Championship season. It's about our fourth time here in this fantastic Portuguese circuit. I've been here for a couple of years. Last time was 2022, but we are now at this edifice of Portuguese motorsport. Of course, a track which has seen quite a lot of activity in the years since we've been here at Creventic. It started off really hosting really mostly testing, but during COVID became into its own. We had MotoGP and F1 and WEC make their first appearances here, but of course only MotoGP remains at the moment. The noise you can hear, the cars going down the end of the pit lane. We are about to start qualifying. It's the normal usual format. It is 3 sets of qualifying. It's 15 minutes each session. All the cars going out together. We've got 21 entries for this event. All the cars will go out together. One driver from each. You have one set of tyres, you have a set amount of fuel, and you go out, you do your 15 minutes, you come in the best time, and for qualifying 2, a different driver gets in, does the same thing, and qualifying 3 again. And it's the best aggregate in this Creventic qualifying that will enable you to take the pole position. So, looking down the pit lane, as you can see, we do have, not quite sure whether the camera's up, but we have a very, very windy day today. It is coming into the wind, up the pit lane, so it's actually blowing straight into the faces of the drivers. If they're open face helmets, come straight into the faces of the drivers coming up the pit lane. So that will obviously make it a little bit easier to overtake, as it will make the slipstream effect better. But of course, if you hear it at the microphone, I think it's blowing pretty hard, and I'm so just waiting for the first cars to go round, looking for information. You can see the track beautifully assembled there. The pagoda that doesn't really have a name around the circuit there, and the cars waiting at the end of the pit lane to get going. A very fine entry of Porsches, both GT3 and 992. I was talking to Paul Trustwell, who's the technical guru, the strategic guru of Red Camel. He's the 14 of the 21 cars. 14 of the 21 cars. Are Porsche. I'm joined by the very lovely Diana. Am I allowed to say the very lovely Diana Binks these days without seen as terribly wrong?
You can say that. It's not a problem, Nick.
So just waiting for the lights to go green and release the cars onto the track. As I said, the storied entry. We've got a couple of interesting cars taking part this time round. In the probably one of the most interesting one is actually the car that's top of the list of entries, which is the Grove Racing machine. That is one of the Mercedes AMGs. The most interesting thing about that is we actually have Aussie supercar V8 legend Garth Tander taking part. And one thing I have been contractually obliged to say is also a co-commentator with our own John Hindhoff down at the Bathurst 12 Hours. Car streaking now down to turn 1. Just behind us, the engine you can hear running is the 902 Holmgard Racing 992, waiting to get out there. And the cars will take to the track. Temperature in the air is around 27 degrees. As the cars begin to see their exploratory lap. Now, the key point really here is it's a hot day. The track is quite abrasive here at Portimao, so you want to take a minimum number of laps to get ready. And one of our new visitors there, one of our new cars in the championship, just on the screen for a second there. That's the very interesting Peugeot 308 car. Later on. So, racing machine, number 11, family affair, Chantal Prince and Alex Prince, turn 7 now, isn't it? Now what I have to say is one of the things about watching the track for me is I actually spent 3 days here back in October on my bike. 3 days track, so I don't know the track quite well. The bike lines are slightly different, and the hairpin turn 5 is in a slightly different place. But the car's now going through this absolute roller coaster of a track. We describe circuits as roller coasters all the time, but possibly Portimao is the track that most deserves it. Watching now as they plunge down. This is the Cron Racing Porsche, and you can see he turned down, he plunged down, and now he's climbing up through 10 and 11. And then you'll turn sharply right, and you drop down again. This is a really steep, obviously the camera flattens everything. That's a really steep hill as you come down towards 12. Down the start finish, a huge stop at the end of turn 1. You've got to sight that turn in there. Click the barrier, not go too wide. Run your way round through 2. There's a hard brake into 3 here. You come back on yourself. This is about the only flat bit of the entire circuit they run through 2 and 3. And there's a sharp left-hand turn uphill off camber. So you run through 4 and then down a long straight. It's a short straight for the motorcycle. The motorcycle will be turning about here. Then you brake again, downhill, hard braking into the turn at 5. And if you look to your left, you'll see the kind of pagoda, which always seems like a track, that particular piece of architecture, but kind of gets ignored. You can't see the absolutely flat in the circuit. Climb now. Up the hill, then up over the crest. Down through to 9, and it's a left hand again. You're climbing very rapidly again. It's completely blind now coming to 10 and 11. Up and over, as you can see actually, they weren't totally sure yet where that was as the turn in. Because it's the first time they've done qualifying that with low fuel. It obviously affects your turning point. Another uphill sharp turn as you go into the final sector. That's just around 13. Then there's a very, very long loop back on yourself on 14 here before you really go down the very, very long right hand of 15 onto the main straight. We're actually accelerating the entirety of the distance all the way through. So we've got the early times yet. No one's actually set a racing time that I can see. We'll see 1:43s in practice early on. It's Stephen Grove who's driving this. It was Alexander Prince actually we saw there in the Hoffa racing car, that Mercedes AMG. He picks up the fastest lap because it's the first lap with a 1:47.7. In the 992 class, you've got the 903 Red Ant Racing just ahead of the 909 Red Camels. So those 2 red Porsche teams, as ever, undertaking battle. It's Yannick Redon to the 903, Ivo Borkas in the 909 Red Camels. The difference in time quite considerable, 1:48.5 for Redon against a 1:49.3. But don't forget that you have 50 minutes to go fast, and it's aggregated across all 3 of the sessions. So in this first session, normally it is the AM drivers who take part in this first of the 3 sets of runs. I think it's actually mandated. Normally the first they all have the best of the tyres and the heaviest car. So 1 set of tyres and a single set of fueling for the whole up to 45 minutes of running. And they will be using that. So basically you go out first, you get the cars in beautiful condition tyre-wise, but fantastic fuel-wise. There's not a huge amount of extra fuel based off of 8 laps, and the tyres obviously aren't using more and more. So now looking back at the time, it's now Pablo Biguerda in U2P racing. Into third, the time machine fifth is the Pinot Amarouche 701. That's the Vortex V8, the beautiful orange machine. It's the V2. This is the car that's looking incredibly quick compared to the V1, compared to anything else in GTX. Today. In fact, we've got the classes we do have. We have 6 GT3s. We have, I believe, 12 992s, 1 GTX, 1 TCR, and 4 GT4 cars. So plenty of action in most of the classes, though a couple of the classes are represented by single machines. The single TCE is that Peugeot 38 we saw briefly earlier, the PRV car, and the single GTX is that Vortex V8. So Prince, continues to have the fastest lap in GT3s. We put a bit of a sprint on there. We saw the earlier lap at 1:45, 47 minutes to 1:45. It's a relatively easy section there. We can go just a little bit wide. The car turning here. This is one of those corners are. And then you drop down again. It's a superb piece of example of the way the track has been designed. It really takes excellent account of the local topology. The track's been open now for, I think, about 16 years. I think it opened in 2008. I know that we were here as Radio Show Limited in 2009, covering the LMS series. And in those days, the track had just sort of been sorted out. It was still having a few teething issues. And obviously those 15 years, as I said earlier, it's hosted everything. Its major success actually came thanks to the COVID pandemic, where it became a safe haven to hold major events. It has managed to hold on to a couple of those. So that's the hairpin at the bottom of 5. Stefan Perrin, regular in the series. Mostly initially we saw him running in TCRs with Audis. He had his own team for a long time. Now he's running with Home Guard Racing, whose pits we are very kindly using at the moment. There's a screen we're able to see in the 911 GT3 Cup. It's about halfway through qualifying now. As Perrin drops down that massive dip before close. You can see how blind 10 and 11 are from the driver's view. Where am I going? Where am I going? Actually, that's not 10 and 11. That's a bit later in the track. Not a blind corner. That's the blind corner coming up through 13. And now the long loop round on 14. It's quite a simple kind of hairpin. It's really about getting the best exit speed, because you're now full throttle if you've got enough downforce all the way down around the never-ending turn 15, which obviously leads you back onto the start-finish, which is easy out very slowly. Drift out, drift out, drift out, drift out. Take a little bit of curve, not too much, and then line it up. And it's all about finding a braking point for turn 1. This is a very, very long, well over a kilometre straight now. Absolute flat chap. And then what you have to do is pitch your braking point, and you're trying to do as much of it as possible through 1, with the sort of tightening up between 1 and 2. That's one of the things, of course, about PORTIMAO is it's one of the modern Grade 1 circuits, so there is plenty of runoff. If you make a mistake, you'll only come to a place where most of the time you're just going to lose time and go onto the concrete or off-road tarmac. Yeah, there's the issue with track it's about the shot potential problem. You qualify if you read the lap anyway. So it does give you a lot of confidence steering the grass. You can actually go right out to the edge, but you can see that's very interesting. Profile for motorcycles, quite flat and friendly. So maybe you should use it's a wide track anyway, being a modern Grade 1 circuit, and you get extra width because you can see there the curves and the runoff area as well. It's the Buggy Art GT4 machine, just ahead of him, one of the Mercedes. The Buggy Art car, which is the 41666 Yaris Yanis, who's a recent addition to their team. So Hankook, who's the lady driver, who's been with the series about a year and a half now, and they've got a team as well. Won the last round in Spa, despite having a number of problems. The GT4 field has been kind of dominated by the cars with these amount of issues, because they tend to have 45 cars. Is his best time. Sven Herberger now for Santos Junior Team, the 18, that's the Audi. He's the second now, 1:45.3. Mercedes, number 10, the Australian effort. Then it is the 92 Herberth car in 5th, and that is Max Moritz. These top cars come with about 1.7 seconds between them. try and reduce those gaps. The average, which will result in who ends up being the top, the average of those three drivers. Leon Amarish now down to 6th in the Vortex, but they will be first in GTX, on pole for GTX, because they're the only car. Fastest GT992 car, Yannick Rodin, Racing, and you've got Ivo Lucas with the Camels, Amado Pampanini, HRT car, which is back to slowest for GT3 cars, the 6th place is Paolo Bagherla in the U2P Racing. So American representation, there's quite a few American racers here. Obviously we've lost the big American team through Creventic, we've also CP Racing who signed out with a victory. We have a red flag, so I'm not sure what's caused that red flag. That will certainly bring an end to the qualifying. I don't think 2 hours 50, I think 15 minutes, sorry, 2 hours 50, 2 minutes 50 seconds effectively left. I don't think they'll get back out again. Everyone waiting to receive the cars. But that should lock in this first session. Clock's has been stopped though actually, just mean they can go out again. Whether they'll choose to is another question. The Creventic series seems to be the only series on track for this weekend. So they've got plenty of time, they've got plenty of space, they're not being abutted by other series where they'd have to lose some time. So just to continue that rundown, after Bagheera it's the 904 Red Out Racing with Peter Relix in it. Then you've got Stefan Perrin in Holmgard, and that's I think he's 5th in 992. 6th in 992 it's Celine Amarouche, daughter of Lionel Amarouche, so it's both the Amarouche father and daughter are on track at the same time, but she's running in the Sebashu Racing Maduro Porsche, and you've got Frank Villena from the Orca Racing Porsche circuit. Tracy Cron, a very well-known and respected American from Texas, in the RPM Racing in 8th. That's Antonio Garzon in the Orca Racing, second Orca Racing in 9th, and then you've got Yaris is the first of our GT4s, followed by Rokas Cavaldius in the GSR Motorsport Ginetta in GT4, Patrick Niederhauser from Line Speed GP in the Porsche 798 Cayman in 3rd in GT4, and Cherry Chonkardi in the W Autosport Toyota GTR Supra. So we've got 4 cars in GT4 and 4 manufacturers. You've got Mercedes, Ginetta, Porsche and Toyota. And bringing up the rear, unsurprisingly, it's Hervé Houder in the Peugeot 38 Racing Cup, the only TCE car, and obviously significantly slower and less powerful than the others. But there has been a problem, obviously, with Longhorn in the MRS GT Racing Porsche because he's stranded at the back by about 9 or 10 seconds. So we are on a bit of a red flag, Di. So let's have a bit of a conversation about what you're feeling about the Portimao 24-hour.
Well, we were all set, weren't we, Nick, ready to go a little bit earlier, and we've just got a few little gremlins to deal with at the moment, which we are, but the teams are already preparing. They've had a private practice session earlier on this morning just to get a feel for the setup they want to go. Now they're just going to be cycling through the drivers, but we've had that red flag that's come out a few minutes earlier with 2 minutes 50 to go. I'm not sure they'll actually reignite this session, so it's red flag completely, so that's fine. So a bit more time then for the teams just to sort of have a quick chat with the drivers now. I'm guessing the circuit is obviously pretty green out there. They'll just be dialing in, taking their time, learning what they can to hand over to the next driver. But it's going to be a sort of cautious sort of qualifying session, I think, here tonight, Nick. Yeah,
the session will not be restarted. I know, interestingly, the only car that's not made it back is the 917 Antonio Garzon Orchid Racing Team car. So that would be my CSI Portimao. I'm guessing that is the car that's caused a red flag. Hopefully it's nothing serious. We had seen those shots. We don't know if it's an off or perhaps an oil leak or whatever it may be, but hopefully that's absolutely fine. So at the end of that first session is Alexander Prince in the Hoffa Racing Team. So I suppose we should do our other job and walk down to the Hoffa Racing Team, wherever they may be, and actually do the thing we're normally paid to do, which is interview people.
We are, yes. They're at the other end of the pit lane, but just while we've got that minute, Nick, while we're walking up and down, I know you've been here on a bike and have experienced this circuit, on 2 wheels. It is quite a challenging one. How challenging do you think it's going to be for the drivers to set up these different cars?
I think the challenge really is, as I was saying, the interesting thing about the track is it's very wide and you've got a lot of runoff areas, so it's not a high-risk circuit. Because if you make a little mistake, there's a track to sweep you up. What it does mean, though, is you're kind of more inclined to push harder because you've got that safety margin in your head. So I think it's a track that the drivers like. It's great fun to drive. It does offer overtaking opportunities. But I think you're absolutely right. When you've got a 3-dimensional track, it adds a whole nother dimension to the setup of the cars.
And of course the wind has also picked up here as well, just as we've sort of started, this qualifying session. But as I said a bit earlier, I think people will be cautious because they want to get through this qualifying. We've got a long race to go. It's a case of just bedding everything in. But of course, you always, as a driver, want to set a quick time.
Yeah, I think the wind, luckily, is kind of blowing straight up the start-finish straight. So it's not a crosswind, and the way the track is orientated, it's not exactly going to be bothering you with the crosswind across much of the track. And the other thing to remember is that the straight is very exposed. It's kind of a solid piece of quite flat ground, apart from the end where it dips down. A lot of the rest of the track is actually protected by the very hilliness of everything. So in many ways, the wind is going to be more of an aerodynamic issue, I think, than a handling issue.
I think you're absolutely right there. And also the other thing to think about as well, for some of the drivers, and I don't know how many, we'll need to check it out, but who haven't been here before, it is a tricky circuit. It's got some blind corners that just take you a moment or two to get used to, don't they?
Oh, you need to do a few laps before to get your confidence, because frankly, you're looking around the corner and you turn around and suddenly you're just staring into an abyss many times. So we wandered in here trying to find Alex. He's disappeared somewhere. Where's he gone? Aha! Oh, we've discovered Alex now. He's pretending he wants to get his socks on TV. Di, I'll let you ask him the question, because I haven't given the microphone the last 15 minutes. Yeah. He's at the top of the timesheet. Yes. It's amazing how information comes in 70 different angles. So Di's getting a kiss, which is quite nice. Let me pass you over to him. You can talk to him rather than kiss him.
Thank you very much, yeah. We're just having a few technical issues here, but just talk me through that first part of qualifying. What was the approach at the start?
I think the approach was for sure to be maybe near to the top of the charge, but we are now on the top, but I was really struggling. I think also the wind changed a lot to the last practice we had. And then I didn't manage well to get the tires in the right temperature. So yeah, I think it's okay for us, but honestly I expected a bit more from the performance. So yeah, let's see what Kenneth and Max can do, and then we hope that we maybe stay on top, at least under the first three. So that would be amazing for the start tomorrow, yeah.
I mean, we were talking about that wind just picking up as that session really started. Just explain to us then, from a driver's perspective, when you can't get the heat into the tyres quickly enough, how does it change the handling of the car?
The problem is really when you don't get the tyres in the right temperature windows. So the problem is when you are braking and you want to steer in and to make the best position for the car, for the apex of the corner, you can't really go that fast how you would like to. For sure, all the drivers always want to be faster, but right now I really had to adjust my driving, which was a little bit uncomfortable for me. So yeah, I think it was okay for us, and now we hope that we stay near the top.
But that's an important part of the strategy, isn't it? It's so early on. We were just first qualifying session underway. We've got a 24-hour race coming up tomorrow. There's an awful lot of learning still to be done and can be done.
Yeah, for sure. It's a long race. It's always nice to be near in the top spots, but yeah, the strategy is not like really be the fastest on one lap. We really have to manage to be consistent during the whole race, 24 hours. And then we will see how we end up. I think our chance is quite good for that, so we focus on this and not really to be on pole position or something. Would be nice, but yeah, I think it's not what we expect really now. Especially after the struggle from my stint now.
Many drivers just say that this circuit is a fantastic circuit. They love it. They love the challenges that it brings. How would you describe it?
For me also, I love to be here. It's just an amazing track. I also love, for sure, the notch life. And this is quite similar. I always call it the small notch life because uphill, downhill, you have also blind spots where you come over a hill. You can't really see where you exactly have to brake, especially the challenge is now in the night here. Yeah, it's just pure fun. It's always nice weather. The Creventic is always one of my favorite events. It's always racing with friends, great competitors. It's really like gentleman driving, also pro drivers. For me personally, as a gentleman, I have the challenge maybe to see how is my driving and how is my speed compared to a pro driver, especially to the Herbert guys and Pierre Kaffer. Yeah, that's the main challenge, and yeah, we always love to be here.
Well, a great start so far to the weekend. No doubt we'll be chatting to you throughout the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Nick Damon is still here in the pit lane with us. We've had another interruption, I think, to that session. I just was in the middle of an interview there, so I didn't quite hear. Have we had another red flag, Nick, or did it not restart?
No, I think what happened, it hasn't restarted. It looks like they're going to rescue the car, so I think they've been told it's a longer delay, and they don't want to leave the cars out in the sun. That's my guess. That's just using intuition. There's no fact to that statement apart from just seeing people wandering down who wouldn't normally want to get themselves in the sun. So, yeah, we haven't seen any shots yet of what actually happened. We know it's the 917 Orchid car, but normally if it's going to be a longer delay, then it'll be something like arm barrier. So.
Well, as we wait to find out what is going to be happening, we're still down here in the pit lane. And we were just chatting there with Hoffer Racing, and the guys were all saying, you know, how much they just absolutely love competing on the circuit and how it actually pushes them all individually. You know, corner by corner can sometimes be quite different.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was kind of slightly earwinging Alex there, and he described it as the mini Nürburgring, and I can see that the down dale. The one thing it has no similarity to the Nürburgring about is that, of course, one thing the Nürburgring has is no runoff. Once you get off the Grand Prix circuit, you have the strip of tarmac, which is quite thin, and you have grass normally about 2 meters, and a very solid Armco barrier. Here you can go quite a way off and not have the problems, even though it is the uphill and down dale, which is probably what's going on now. Question: we don't know. Is there any messages about when it might start? And I was correct, it's barrier repairs are needed. So the 917's gone to barriers, and there'll be a delay until further notice in getting that going. So I suppose the only thing we can probably do is talk to some people, I suppose, really. Look, it's a windy day, so the windsocks turned up. That's good news. Let's go and have a word with Tracy Cron, shall we? We'll have a quick word with Tracy. Hey, Tracy, good to see you. How are you feeling? How are you doing? I know you had a comeback in Spa after the problems at Mugello, but you're 100% fighting fit now? I'm
100% fit now. Yeah, everything's good. Yeah, the car's quite good today, yeah.
So, yeah, the RPM team, you've been doing pretty well, really, in the championship. How are you finding Portimao? I'm sure you've been here before, but it's an incredible track.
Oh, I love this track. This is a great track. This reminds me of Nürburgring, really. It's just warmer.
Yes,
no rain.
Yes, in fairness, there is less snow here. I mean, it's not a massive field overall, but it's a very big field of 992 cars. You're really right in the centre of the competition for the whole event, aren't you?
Yeah, no, the 992 class is always strong, but I mean, this is going to be a real test for 24 hours. We've been here before, didn't have very good luck. Had a little transmission problem with the car we had before, but this Porsche 992 is solid.
So you're still part of the longest partnership in motor racing with Nick. I've been covering, I think, endurance sports car events for about 17 years, and you've certainly been involved in all those 17 years. How much longer do you think you'll be racing around the tracks of the world?
Oh, as long as I can. My current goal is 80 something.
Are you going to try and beat the age record for Le Mans, which I think is about 69, isn't it, the oldest driver at Le Mans?
Well, you got to get invited. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be there. Nick and I did it, went there 14 times in a row. So, yeah, I'd love to do it again.
I mean, when we talk about what is it? You are an incredibly successful businessman. You could choose to do anything with your spare time. What is it about sports car racing, endurance sports car racing, that really has bitten you so hard as a bug?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. One is I like to compete, whatever things I do. I love to compete, but I mean, racing is. I mean, I've never had a perfect lap. I've never, I played golf for a long time. I never had a perfect round. I think it's kind of the same thing. You can always be better. You can always improve. You always make the car faster, but you need to make yourself faster too. You need to stay in shape. I think the sport demands that. So I have to stay in better shape than I think I normally would be in.
A successful business obviously is all about working with team and trusted advisors. I mean, there are a lot of similarities between that and a motor racing team, but are there any sort of team differences between how you'd run your company and how you'd run your team?
Yeah, not. I mean, this is a little more personal. So when you screw up here, it can be quite painful, and it can be painful on your pocketbook as well, just like any business. But I think we're in the business of finding oil and gas hydrocarbons in the Gulf of Mexico. So we're in the risk business. This is just a different kind of risk.
Yes, yeah, so you're in the oil and gas business. I mean, segue question. I mean, what do you see as the future of the motive power within motorsport? Because in many ways, electricity hasn't been taking off. How are we going to get away from the more non-politically correct substances into something else? Yeah,
well, when the public decides that they've had enough of motorsports with internal combustion engines, it'll stop. And when we figure out better fuels that are more economic and less damaging, that will change. We've done this throughout history. We started off inventing fire. That was a pretty interesting day, and then we had whale oil, and then we had coal, and then we had oil and gas, and then we had nuclear, and so we're able to adjust as a society, and that's what societies do. They adapt. So in the future, we'll see new and better and cleaner and more efficient fuels.
And do you see hydrogen as more of as an answer, or do you think that's another blind alley?
Hydrogen is a different kind of fuel. There's some things about hydrogen that make it more difficult to collect. I mean, it is the most abundant atom on the planet in the planet, and I got to tell you that it's just too expensive to produce it with current methodology. It doesn't make sense economically yet, but I expect it will.
Yeah, I mean, that's where all the research development is going. I mean, completely right. I mean, obviously, you say you're looking for oil and gas deposits in the Gulf of Mexico. I remember when I was about 10, which is the mid 70s, I was told that all the oil would run out in 25 years, which would have been like latest 2000. Yeah. How much is there still to find?
Oh, there's still plenty of oil and gas to find. We're finding it in different parts of the world. We're finding it in shales. We're finding it in different sands and different basins. Guyana is a real good example. Massive discovery there, and there will be more discoveries like that as we go forward. But we're going to need all the fuel we can possibly get. Electricity and AI is going to be incredibly difficult to overcome. AI is going to require massive amounts of power, and we're building new data centers that are going to require more and more power, and you're going to have to create that well, not create it, but you're going to have to generate it to put it into society and make it make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, many challenges going ahead. Of course, the big challenge you got is the next two sections of qualifying. How's that for a segue? So where do you feel your position will be at the end of this qualifying? Where do you think RPM will be?
We're going to be close, if not at the top of our class. I mean, we don't have a very big class for this race, but this is not atypical of a location that's a little bit further away in Europe, I've noticed. But the car is quite good. I'm very satisfied with the car. We worked really hard to get it here, and but for a few different things with the car that we can always change. I feel really confident with this car for this weekend.
Great stuff. Good luck. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Tracy Cron from the RPM racing team, of course, a very successful businessman as well. So, meandering further up and down the pit lane. It's nice to have a long... See, this is a chance to do what you don't normally get to do, Di, which have a long chat with someone. Please keep talking, which no one ever says to me normally.
Exactly. We could see sort of on the screen there that we're bringing some of the cars back in, so hopefully it shouldn't be too much longer before we can get this session back underway. But all the cars are out on the pit aprons at the moment, just waiting, cleaning windscreens, doing last-minute things, and waiting for the moment to get back out on track. But we can't get a specific time right now, So we're just going to go with the flow, Nick, and walk up and down this pit lane and chat to whoever we can. And
Whoever will talk to us. Let's have a look at the. So there's a few cars out there. This is the really very interesting Peugeot. I'm not sure we've got the Seb's holding his camera at half mast. This is the very interesting Peugeot, Seb. Of course, he can't hear us either. So this is the Christian Glott, Udray, Alan Remy and Flavien Remy. It's the Peugeot 308. I wonder if there's somebody in the garage who can talk to us. Do we have a spokesman for the team somewhere? Anyone have a quick chat about the Peugeot? There's a lot of avoidance, a lot of je ne parle anglais. I think you parle anglais. No? A little bit. Sorry, and your name, sir, is?
I'm refueling.
You're refueling?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. So we've got one of the mechanics. So tell us, where does this car usually race? Where are you usually racing this?
In France, TTE. It's an amateur race and all in France. Circuit of Le Mans for the final race, Manicourt, and the other France circuits.
And this car, does it normally do short 20-minute races, or does it do these long endurance races normally?
Normally, we do all pre-practice and to be continued.
So, why have you come here? Why have you decided to enter this race in Portimao?
I'm just refueling.
Yeah, but you can tell me.
Because it's an emblematic race. Portimao, a beautiful circuit and beautiful sun.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's a very French-speaking team there, the 125 Peugeot 308 team. There's a good selection of beer and water in that particular garage, so we're visiting that quite soon, Di.
I think that's where, if I lose you, that's where you're going to be, I know. So I've clocked that one, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Ah, the Santalock Audi. Hello, Santalock Audi. Can't say hello. It's not allowed to say hello evening. We're what's commonly known as filling. Ella. Oh, the whole team back here. Look at them all lounging about. Pierre? Yeah? Word? Very quick word. He's getting his coffee at the moment. He's got a camera out there. Oh. Can you film in here? You can, can't you? So this is the... it is nice and cool. See, there we are. It's excellent work there from Di's. Recognise this is not in the sun, which is great work. So we're just waiting for Pierre... waiting for Pierre Caffer here. So Pierre, how is it going so far for the team?
Oh well, qualifying is, I have to say, quite interesting today. I mean, everyone tried to get in a proper shape, so we try to find a very good setup. Sven have done a fantastic job in the first session. Unfortunately, there was a crash, and I think they need to repair the barrier, so that's what we're waiting for.
Now, we were discussing with my colleague Di that because of the very three-dimensional nature of this track, the up and down, does the fact that it's got so many hills and crests make it more difficult to set the car up, less difficult? Is it just the same as a flat track?
It's more entertaining, I have to say. But one of the key points is to get the car in the right balance for all the heat changes what we have here so far, and to get the tire in the right tire in the right window.
Yeah, 'cause it's I think it's about 26, 28 outside, and because early morning this race is obviously a 24-hour race, so you're going to run right into the darkness. I mean, obviously everything is a compromise. So where do you set the car up? Do you set the car to be fast just towards the end of the race? Do you set the car to be fast at the early part of the race, or would you just not really know where it's going to be fast?
Well, it's a question for everyone. It's always a compromise for everything, and as you know, better is to stay out of trouble. And it's also the point of strategy, and everything need to be together, and you need to have a little bit of luck on your side. So luckily we drive in an Audi. It's bulletproofed, so the Audi R8 Evo 2 is a great car, and we all feel confident in that car. And the new Hankook tire for this year is a different dimension, so it's really nice to work with all of them.
You mentioned the Audi Evo 2. Of course, Audi kind of stepped back a little bit from customer racing over the last year or so. I mean, how is their support? Is there any development anymore? How is the support from customer racing?
Well, we can say here customer racing is still on track, and customer racing is still supporting us, and customer racing is not pulled out of the customer sport, and this car is valid until 2030, so it's quite a long time, and for us it's a perfect car to drive, and with all the parts and everything, it's very well known, so there's no points where you need to change it.
Great stuff. Thank you indeed, Pierre Caffer from the Santa Lock team. And we have a confirmation that the second session will commence in now, about a minute to go, and they are going to go out for the second session, so they only a short break. Oh, it seemed quite long to me during that time. And as the engines squeal past us on the pit lane, what we need to do now, we need to find some. Look, we'll find this. It's a quick word with the man himself, enjoying the sun. No, it's Paul Trustwell there, who's going to be enjoying the sun, enjoying it. Do you want to have a quick word with Paul?
Right, as your car, Paul Trustwell, leaves the garage, it's a bit of a delay to proceedings here. How much has that changed your sort of strategy run?
Not really. We just take it as it comes. People get excited about qualifying. I try not to. There's no points for qualifying. We've got a 24-hour race ahead of us. It's very important for the team to be able to get to the end of the race. Whether we start halfway down the grid or a bit further, it's not really important. We don't have the same quality of driver lineup as Red Ant does with their all semi-pro team. So we're looking at second place at best. I mean, it would be nice to get on pole, but I think second place is the best we can hope for. Ivo did a lovely lap, so he did well. Rick will do a good lap as well, because he always does. Luke is then going out. Poor old Fabian has to sit in the garage and watch it all and say, I could do better than that. But it's a team effort. As I say, we're really focusing on the race.
So at this point, Paul, what's really the objective for you during these qualifying sessions? You've just explained that you don't think pole's within reach on this one, but what else are you looking at? What do you want to make sure?
The big thing is fuel. As you know, we're not allowed to refuel during this session. We need to make sure we've got enough fuel on board to complete the session. But what's also interesting is what the fuel consumption is, because the drivers are really going to be concentrating, trying to put in good laps, and so the fuel that they use will be representative of what they use during the race. So I'm looking at fuel consumption during this session and then extrapolating that for what will happen during the race.
Last time out, obviously at Spa, didn't quite go the way you wanted. A lot of work's had to go on since then. How have you then prepared for this one, knowing that you didn't get as much running time as you wanted?
Very little. We did 5 laps in the Spa, which were just a shakedown really. Since then, we've been here since Wednesday. But the car is running very well. I've just jinxed it. I promised I wouldn't say that, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. It's a Porsche, it's reliable.
And now we're into the second part of this qualifying delayed session. Are you going to go and put your feet up for a little bit, do you think? Or are you just going to be, are you beyond those timing screens?
No, I'll be checking the fuel consumption, I would say. Checking the times, trying to keep Rick between the track limits, because they're very strict on track limits here. I mean, the track limits are generous. You're allowed to use the curb, so it's not as bad, for example, as it is in a lot of British rounds where you have to keep the four wheels inside. So there is a little bit of leeway, but they're racing drivers, they push to the limit and beyond. So we really need at least 2 quick laps from Rick to make sure that one of them doesn't get disallowed.
So I guess you have to keep reminding the drivers then that the track limits are slightly different here.
Yes, I was about to go and tell our team manager who's on the radio to remind Rick, but you interrupted me. So if Rick goes over track limits, it's your fault.
Thanks very much, Paul. No pressure at all. Thanks for chatting to us. I'll let you go and do your work. So, Nick, I think I'm in trouble already, and we've not even been here that long.
Can't believe that. You've been in trouble already. Distracting Paul from his job, was it?
Well, yeah, he was telling me that, you know, the track limits here, they're quite stringent, so they've got to keep across the drivers and just keep reminding them, you know, of the differences when they're going on the edge a little bit. But as we're standing here in the pit lane, there's some cars coming back in already. I don't know if we're at the end of this session.
Red flag. We need to position ourselves in front of some screens. I think we have another red flag showing on the track. Not 100%, sir. We are a little bit divorced from some of the information we require. And indeed, there is another red flag. We may have to pay CSI Portimao again to work out who it is. The phalanx of Porsches are rolling back into the pit lane. So, waiting for everyone to come back in again. Some have gone to fuel, some in the pits, trying to work out who it is. So, I'm not sure where the problem is. So the Orchid Racing Team, the 917, we know is already out. But waiting for other cars to come in. A few of them rolling around. No one appears to be actually stationary on the track according to the tracker. It looks like someone's shed the very, very expensive lower lip splitter for the Porsche 992. Those things are very expensive and come off quite easily. It's on the main straight. So they've obviously decided to, just as you can see, there's a pit exit. Obviously decided that the car carnage, it needed clearing off, and it has been cleared now. Everybody else has come back into the pit. I'm not sure the Orchid car one. I don't think so this is a clean-up, so it shouldn't be too long. I'm not sure which car dropped. Rather important aerodynamic device, but we're having a very bitty sort of qualifying session, aren't we, Diane?
Very much so, and it's difficult, isn't it, Nick, to sort of keep up with who's where unless we can see it on the screen, which of course for listeners, they won't be able to see the screen, they can only hear us, so we're not always able to articulate quite as quickly as we'd like, obviously which car is which and what's happening on, but on the screen right now we can see the rescue vehicle out there on track, just picking up some debris off the track. We're still under red flag conditions here, but the rescue trucks going round just making sure that they're cleaning up as much as possible. We can see quite a few bits of debris on the track which is causing this delay.
Yeah, and it's right in the braking area going into turn one. Now I'm wondering, because it's the lower, well, it looks like it's the lower lip spoiler from I'm just wondering whether perhaps there was some misjudgment and someone has minorly nudged into the back of somebody else and knocked off their, this is just a guess, it's not official, I'm not a steward, but I think someone may have had a little bit of minor contact and therefore dropped £7,000 or £8,000 worth of spare parts for Stuttgart on Monday.
And yeah, and then they've got to locate the car that it's come from if it's not their car. So the cars are now lining up at the end of the pit lane waiting for that light to go out so they can get back out on track. And I think we're going to be resuming in about a minute's time, just under a minute or 30 seconds actually before they get back out on track. So as minor a delay as possible, but we are still in the second qualifying session here, so you know there's still quite a bit of time to go and some track time needed for some of these drivers and teams.
Only one lap time was set in that first sort of 4-minute section before the red flag, and that was a name we all know well. That's Alvaro Parente. Remember what Alvaro was doing? Well, he stopped being, I think it was McLaren Works driver for a while. Now he's running with the E2P Racing, and he put the fastest time in because it was the only time in, but it was a 1:45.9. Just for reference, the fastest time in session 1 was a 1:45.0 by Alexander Prince. So the lights are gone and back out they go.
Certainly do, and as you mentioned, Alvaro Parente there, obviously ex-British F3 driver, very, very talented young man, still racing as much as he can in sports cars, loving the endurance racing, he was telling me the other week, and he's a real good advocate for that team, and he talks and coaches the other drivers with him, but they're really enjoying being part of this Creventic lineup.
Yeah, ETP Racing. I think they've only got 3 drivers. The only team doing this 24-hour race on 3 drivers. Just a bit of dates for your diary. The race itself kicks off tomorrow at midday. That is Portugal time, and Portugal time is UK time, but of course it's an hour later in Central Europe. Our time zone is 1 o'clock in France. But all the Volderol and the pit walk and everything else will be on there. You'll see someone singing national anthem, hopefully not Portugal. And also I'll something down pit lane talking to people. And then we run all the way through till 9:30, and then we're back in the morning at 7:30. So we've got an overnight break because we're off for 24 hours. So we will get time, we will have audibles, but we know commentary and such. And we're back on at 7:30, and the race finishes at 12 o'clock. And at that point, well, we'll both be very tired.
We do. It's, as you say, a lot of racing still to come as we get this session back underway. We've got 9 minutes 42 to go on this second part of qualifying. So we just now got to hopefully get back out on track, get that consistency going, the momentum going, get the times up so that we know where we are on the time screens ahead of the start.
Yeah, and it's a good point. They're all now just, because the cars all kind of restarted and all back out in the queue, they're all trying to have a little bit of space from each other. They're all clumping going on. They're on different speeds. For example, the Vortex seems a bit better straight line speed than the Porsche it's following, which is an issue. It's actually breaking down the main straight. But there is the Santalot Racing, the Audi going into turn 1 there. And that has Ella Earhart on board. They were running in 3rd overall, thanks to Sven Herberger after the first session. We heard from Pierre Caffer, who I'm absolutely certain will do the last stint. Pierre Caffer will do the last stint. And he has been one of the standouts for the Creventic series. Pierre, it's always great to see him well established driver.
And great to interview as well, great to talk to. Whenever we go in and ask him what's going on, something has happened. He's always very accommodating. He's a really experienced driver. He knows exactly when he seems to panic at all. And you see him often, chatting with the other drivers and just talking through situations as they develop. They work well as a team, but obviously it's his experience and knowledge that brings a lot to that team.
And obviously he also helps coaching the other drivers. Just out of interest, we also have all the Australians watching. I'm sure many are watching because it's only like 2 in the morning there and 3 in the morning. Garth Tander is in the United States. So I guess that is the Garth Tander, man who commentates with John Hindhoff on the Bathurst 12 hours. More importantly, the supercars and the VA cars racing legend. He's out there trying to conquer Portimao in the 10 machine. We have Kenny Hyatt, Hoffa Racing fans of the Creventic series. Kenny was a big part of this Hoffa team in its first incarnation with Christian Frankenhoek. 2 or 3 year hiatus, mostly linked around Chantal and Alex Prince, and in fact they had a couple of babies, and they had come back to racing, and Kenneth has rejoined. Kenneth for a long time works AMG Mercedes driver. With what's called the typical time machine, so he actually had 1:53.5562 combined with Alex Prince's time that the Hoffa Racing team now has the aggregate fastest time. It's Felix Neuhofer from Herbert Motorsport who has the fastest Herbert Motorsport car that has the fastest overall time for just the session of 1:44.8. He's on the screen right now. White car with the red stripes towards the back. Going down the hill now. Great sharp race goes into the head. It's 240 very, very similar. It's 1:46. It's called racing. Sweeping down before it comes to the very long corner. It's a sharp helping back on yourself. So that's currently your fastest man in the session, though that's already gone because Garth Tander has just put in a 1:44.527 in the white Grove Racing Mercedes AMG. It's going to show you may have a couple of extra years on us there, Garth Tander, but let's say form is temporary, class is permanent.
I didn't quite hear what you said there.
I was feeding you up for a Garth Tander comment. So we'll do this again. So Garth Tander.
Yes, now that team have just come in for this one event, haven't they? So obviously some familiar names there, as you've just mentioned. And Garth is behind the wheel at the moment for the Grove Racing Mercedes, and has put in a third quickest time of a 1:45.453. But again, they'll be just finding their feet on that car. The livery, I know you can't see it, but the livery looks superb. It's white, red, and black. It's quite outstanding on track. So you can see on the screen, you'll be able to see it.
Yeah, so Garth and the team also had the Grove Racing team. I think they had. I think there were a couple of kind of guest stars at some point. I'm just trying to remember who one of the other ones was, but they have the fastest time in this session, but not overall, because the team is in third place with the two average of the two drivers of 1:45.453, which is thousandths of a second lower than the average for Santalok Junior team, 1:45.452. And then you've got the Hopper Racing, Kenneth High still leading behind them. You've got Ralph Bond in fifth, the 91 Herworth Motorsport. That's an aggregate time. He has a 1:45.9. So actually what happens, the list of the drivers, that's their aggregate time. It's not necessarily how fast or slow they are, it's how they compare with the rest of the team. And Garth Tander has now gone so quickly with the 1:44.1, he has catapulted Grove Racing to the top of the timing sheet. He's gone about a second and a half faster than anybody else. And that their average now comes below the Hire and Plinth who qualified for Hoffer Racing. So this machine, the white number 10, is now the overall fastest. So Stephen Grove did the first session and Garth Tander in the second session. He's already put down the fastest lap we've seen in either of those two sessions. Now some of the teams have got their fastest driver out in this part 2. Some will have their fastest driver out in part 3. For example, Rick Broikers is in the Red Camel Jordans, which we're commentating from the back of. Rick's put in a 1:48.0, and that has meant that the Red Camel Jordans are now the fastest of the 992. Second is the 903 Red Ant race, and that's Lucas van Eindhoven, who's put that one into second place in the 992 class. Back with the Hoffer Racing there, that's Kenneth Hire. Now interestingly, it's swapped round twice, and I looked away. I talked about a 992 class, it's all changed again, because the aggregate scoring of the two drivers means that Kenneth Hire has moved back above Garth Tander to second, and Earhart has moved above both of them into first. It's Santalok Junior from Hoffer Racing and Grove Racing is second of 3. Just for reference though, that fast time by Garth Tander is 7/10 of a second faster than Ella Earhart's best time. But of course, it's all about its aggregate. It's about getting all three drivers to put in a fast time. And at the moment, after two drivers, it's just slightly playing into the Santalok and the Hoffer compared to Grove. Still pushing on, as you can see, is Hire in the pink, sort of purpley pink and grey car. And next on, coming through up over 10 and 11. Hire now will turn right and plunge downhill. It's very steep as you come down. You're going to sweep now around to the left. Always on the power. And you brake, move to the right hand side, brake heavily into 13. Try and clip, go wide, then clip back again, because you're then trying to get over the left hand side of the track before you sweep round the 180, kind of one of the more simple corners in Portimao, of turn 14. Back now with the 91 machine of Ralph Bond, who is listed in both of the Herworth cars. So Ralph Bond is listed in the 91 and the 92. I don't think he'll qualify in both of them, but he's listed in both of them, so he'll be doing some time in both the cars. Now I'm not sure whether we are now able to hear from London.
Tander, the number 10, pinging up on the penalty screen as well, because we've just seen him do that as well.
Yeah, track limits on one of these more modern circuits, which Portimao definitely qualifies for. Only been around since 2008. Does have quite significant tarmac runoff, and racing drivers, if you give them some runoff, they will use it and just hope that they don't get caught for it. Well, Kenneth Hire and Garth Tander have come into the pit, so rather than continue going around and burning up the tyre and maybe not necessarily improving the lap time, you've got to do your quick lap time early, then bring it in and keep some rubber left for the crucial third and final qualifying session. 1 minute and 12 seconds left then on the clock. Still personal best sectors being set. The 405 Ginetta personal best in sector 1 for Aras Kevidaras. They sit at the top of the GT4 class right now, so a crew that we haven't had throughout the whole season, and they're right up there straight away with their Ginetta G56.
Yeah, I also, if we have got connection to our pit team, car 963, they changed tyres during the qualifying session. They're going to take a 10 grid places drop on tomorrow's starting grid. I'm not sure if we have got connection to our pit lane reporters, but that's a one for the interval. Which comes in about 20 seconds. We're going to have a checkered flag for this second segment of qualifying, and then we'll go to a bit of a break. So car 963 changed their tyres during qualifying, which of course is forbidden. You've got to finish, or you've got to compete, I should say, in all three segments of qualifying on that same set of Hankooks.
So checkered flag is out. Last few laps to be completed then. At the moment it's the Santalock Junior team who are at the top of the shop in 992. Well, it's Red Camel Jordans. They're determined. I think they've really got the bit between their teeth this weekend to try and get one back on their big rivals, Redan Racing. So they come through now. It's Lucas van Eindhoven in that number 903 car, who's going to complete this second qualifying session. The Van Eindhoven, his best time of 149.027 in this qualifying session. Their average is still 0.4 of a second though off the average speed, average lap time, excuse me, of Rick Breukers and the 909 Red Camel Jordan's team. So E2P Racing deciding to crack on, and they're going to pull into the pits as well. Alvaro Parent using all of the time available, but that's all she wrote for that run for the 991.2 Porsche in very menacing black livery. Looks fantastic.
I think, Peter, it might be an opportunity to have a word with our pit lane reporters. I think we've got both Nick Damon and Diana Binks in the pits for this session. Guys, are you there? And if you are, can you start with a bit of a weather report? Just how hot is it? We've been talking about it not being as hot as being on the Algarve in July, but I think it's still pretty warm down there.
Hello, Joe. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can, Nick. Hello, mate.
Just so you know, we can't hear ourselves, so we at the moment we need to talk out. We are just Di's going to try and dig out Garth Tander, but to answer your actual question, it's lovely. It's very warm. It's also very, very windy. There's a really strong wind blowing right into the face of the cars as they come down the main straight. But the actual temperature is about 28 degrees, so it's very pleasant. If the wind wasn't here, I don't want to complain as an English person. It'd be too hot, Joe.
Well, it sounds perfect, actually. It's nice, it's hot and sunny. However, you are going to get a burnt forehead if you're not careful with that wind. We have got a bit of a mission for you. The number 963, Antoine Leclerc, was the driver in that car, currently 11th, 4th in the 992 class. It's the Orchid Racing team. They've been penalised 10 grid penalty slots for changing tyres in the first of our intervals. So I was wondering if you could find that out after perhaps Di's interview. Thanks, Nick.
And I'm going to pass over to Di right now because she's found Garth Tander.
Thank you very much. Garth, many thanks for coming out to have a chat with us. Great to see you here. How are you, first of all?
Yeah, great to be here. Fantastic track. So when the Grove team gave me the opportunity to come over, I was like, yep, I'm there for sure. So really happy to be here.
Is this a track you've been to before? Is this your first time? I thought it was your first time.
No, first time here, first time in a Mercedes, and first time on a Hankook tyre. So lots of new things for me this weekend, but really enjoying myself. The Alabama Motorsport crew have done a really nice job with the car. And yeah, we're really having a good time. I mean, for us, you know, we want to win, but for us, the first thing is we've got to make sure we finish the race. And then if we're somewhere near the front, when the sun comes up on Sunday morning, then we'll have a crack.
Well, let's face it, you're going to be used to this heat, aren't you?
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, there's a few guys running around with cool suits and things on, and we don't have to worry about that. Used to, in the supercars back home in Australia, they're much, much hotter cars. And obviously our climate at home is very, very warm as well. So it's very, very comfortable for us.
Well, the car has just fired up. The Mercedes is away out on track now. Now, just let me take you back. You said three things there: new car, new circuit, and, you know, joining this team. First of all, what's your impression of the circuit from the limited time you've had out there?
Oh, it's a fantastic circuit. It's really, really cool. I'm a big MotoGP fan, so I obviously watch all the MotoGP stuff, and they raced here early in the year. I knew I was racing here, so I did a lot of studying when MotoGP was here, and spoke to a few of my friends that race GTs in Europe, and they said, yeah, you've got to go to that track. So when Steve and Brendan Grove asked me if I wanted to come and join them, I was, yeah, tell me where and I'm there.
And how does the car feel, the Mercedes? What's your impression of it?
Well, I've raced a lot of GT back home in Australia, and predominantly in Audis, which are mid-engined, and the Merc is much, much different to drive. Obviously, big car, long wheelbase, front engine, so it's a different beast to drive. It's very forgiving, but like any race car on the limit, it's hard work. So, I was happy with the lap. This whole average qualifying time is new for us in Australia. We don't do that very much, so I think we're still third at the moment. So we'll see how Brenton goes.
Yeah, there's a bit more time to go, but obviously we know there's a 24-hour race ahead of us, so there'll be plenty of track time. Are you looking forward to the challenges that will bring?
Yeah, I am. It's I've done 2 24-hour races back home in Australia at Bathurst back in the early 2000s. So 22 years since I've done a 24-hour race. So I'm really looking forward to the challenge. I haven't done any night running yet, so we'll do some night running tonight in the night practice and get an understanding of just how dark it is. From what I understand, it's very, very dark. So just getting your head around that. The team aspect of 24-hour racing. Like I said, our goal is to have as minimal dramas from the start of the race at midday on Saturday to when the sun comes up Sunday morning. And if we're in a good spot Sunday morning when the sun comes up, then we'll tighten the belts up and have a go.
Garth, so much for chatting to us for the moment. We will catch up with you over the weekend just to find out how it's all going, but great to see you here.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Cheers.
That is fascinating stuff there. Well done, Di, getting hold of Supercars legend Garth Tander. And even for someone of his level of experience who's been there and done it at the top level, so much new there, Joe. That's just fascinating. Yeah. Even someone who's been racing as long as Garth has, and he's really coming in effectively a rookie here this weekend.
Yeah, but you heard what he said about Portimao. He's a MotoGP fan. He's seen what the track is like here at Portimao, and he's wanted to race a car here, and he's fulfilling an ambition, and he hasn't really got many boxes to tick left, has he, really, being the superstar that he is? But I'm sure he's going to enjoy a nighttime session as well. It's going to be a complete... And remember, though, he's driven Bathurst. Is Bathurst arguably the most challenging track in the world? It's quite up there, isn't it? Maybe, maybe even more so than the Nürburgring. But he is going to find this one challenging, massively challenging in the dark.
Yeah, and I think the multi-class traffic is going to be something that's also something that I'm sure he's experienced before, but something that's maybe hasn't done so for a while. I wonder if being in the Mercedes, he mentioned he's driven the Audi at the Bathurst 12-hour before, but being in the Mercedes, it's a front-engine V8, whereas he made his name front-engine V8s. I'm sure there's many differences between a V8 supercar and the various guises in the modern-day GT3. You just can't switch off quality, and Garth, one of the most experienced and fastest racing drivers of his generation. You think of the people that he's raced against, some really, really impressive drivers. So now into the business end of this qualifying session, the third and final group now, and once we're finished this session, the aggregate times across the 3 sessions will be added up, and we will set the grid for the 2024 24 hours of Portimao, and you can have all the coverage tomorrow. The race starts at noon local time, noon in the UK as well, if you're listening or watching there. Brenton Grove straight to the top of the timesheets and takes that Mercedes for Grove Motorsport, the car run by El Bamber Motorsport, a 144.7 on the slightly older tyres. Tell you what, Joe, he's not letting Garth Tander have all the fun there as Brenton Grove.
No, first flying lap and only 0.6 of a second from Tander's time. It's becoming a Mercedes battle at the front of the grid, isn't it? We've got two Mercedes. The Grove Racing car currently provisionally in first place. The number 11 of Hofer Racing now with Maximilian Partel at the wheel of that car, a 46.7, a full 2 seconds slower than Brenton Grove's time, however still remaining in second place. The other GT3 cars yet to give us a third sector time, a third segment time, let's say, not sector, let's not get confused there. So we've got Pierre Caffer in the number 18 on his outlap. Be prepared to see that number 18. He's in the Sonterlock team this weekend, and be prepared to see that that car burst to the front of the or the top of the timing screen, I should say, when he gives us that third lap time. Robert Reinauer, another superstar, he's in the 92. Jason Hart, you can't discount him as well, he's in the 91. So we're just we're waiting now, and let's not discount Antonio Siniero as well. He's in the other GT3 car. So at the moment, the GTX entry of Lucas Sugliano, that's the Vortex V8, the Vortex 2.0, currently on the second row of the grid.
It's fantastic from the Vortex crew. They're going to be well in the thick end of the overall top 10, and I think that's really important for them. They'll be looking at where their overall positioning is in the race, and you don't want to be starting deep in the pack and ended up getting caught up in others' incidents, which is, there are a lot of real converging points here at Portimao. It's a hugely technical circuit in places, and the difference between certain cars and where they make up their lap time, and indeed where they don't make up their lap time, is going to make it a little bit of a complicated matter through traffic. So, Krone Racing, number 907, a stalwart car of this championship. That's Philip Hamprecht, the young star, who's taking the third session for that team. It was the veteran of the team, Nick Jonsson, qualifying in the second, with Tracy Crone, team owner, out in the first session. So they've got a great driver lineup. They've also managed to get the services of a certain Patrick Heusman, who's knows a thing or two about going quick in a Porsche Cup car, which is definitely the biggest understatement of the day. But you're right, Joe, the Mercedes looks strong here, and you wouldn't necessarily say it was a circuit that suited that car, but it's working well in qualifying trim.
Yeah, it's got good all-round performance, whether it be in the twisty bits or out on the straight. We've got the number 11 driving very, very slowly. Maximilian Partel just looking like he may even be making his way slowly back to the pits. In fact, he may have a puncture there, Peter. I'm not sure if I saw a bit of a wobble. Changes at the front of the timing screen, the top of the timing screen though, with Pierre Caffer going second quickest with his time of a 1:45.3, giving him an aggregate of a 1:45.1. Robert Reinauer, he joins him in third place, and then there's the Maximilian Partel car, which is making its way back to the pits. I thought I might have saw a puncture. I haven't seen a puncture. The car is just driving very slowly.
Yeah, and it's driven off the circuit, going to take a shortcut back to the pit. So yeah, no more then from the Hofer Racing team. They will do no better than fourth on the grid. Number 92, Robert Renner, what a star he is, former ADAC GT Masters. Real quick driver.
I'm liking that livery, Peter.
Oh, it's
red and white
fantastic,
stripes.
isn't it? Yeah, that's the Dower 962 flat turbo. Yeah, it looks absolutely fantastic. White with the red stripes across, and that Fat Turbo, the brand, is now owned by Ferdi Porsche, grandson of Ferry and son of Wolfgang Porsche, and he's very much revived the brand. Getting word now that the Hofer Racing Mercedes has come to a complete stop at turn 9 off the circuit, so seems to me more like a technical issue that's claimed that machine, unfortunately. Fastest lap of the session was, in fact it is Robert Reinauer, a 1:44.2, but the average times coming in with a 1:44.5 for Pierre Caffer. Santilok go to the top of the timesheets then with Santalok Junior Team's Pierre Caffer. That's a strange sentence to say, but there we go. Up at the top of the timesheets now with 0.2 of a second in hand, and Brenton Grove, Joe, is into the pits. So the Grove Motorsport guys doesn't look like they're going to be on pole.
I think that's probably their qualifying section over. Remember, you can't exactly pull into the pits and bang a new set of Hankook tyres onto it to perhaps go even quicker. So I think Brenton Grove, happy with his qualifying time of 1:44.7. Not the fastest driver in that car, number 10. The Grove Mercedes was, of course, Garth Tander with a 1:44.16. The fastest time of this session is a 1:44.2 by Pierre Caffer, but that's not showing. Sorry, by Robert Reinauer. Got me German drivers mixed up there. So Reinauer, a 1:44.2, but still not as quick as Garth Tander. And I'm not sure if that time of Garth Tander is going to be the fastest lap overall of the set, the fastest single lap, of course. With the 3 laps aggregated, we're not going to see that being a factor to put the car on pole. We are going to see a factor to put that car on the front row, though.
Unfortunately, Maximilian Partel is out of the car. He's parked the car hopefully out of harm's way, there at the bottom of turn 9. He's speaking to the circuit staff, so it seems like it's just some sort of technical issue that's brought that Hoffer Racing number 11 Mercedes to a halt, which is a real pity. Tell you what, it's an impressive.
I'm hoping, Peter, that it isn't a massively technical issue. That, you know, and it's something that they can rectify. It did get to where it is under its own steam, and I'm not sure whether or not the team has told Maximilian to park the car ASAP to save whatever the issue was. But we'll have to wait and see for that. Shall we have a look at the order in the 992 class, because that's always a bit of a hotbed of competitiveness.
It is, yeah. Luke Broikers putting in a strong time of 1:47.8. It's the quickest of this session so far, and that puts the average at 1:47.9, which is half a second in hand over the Red Ant Racing crew. So advantage Red Camel Jordans at the moment, with 3 minutes and 23 seconds left on the clock. So yeah, fantastic pace being set out there by these drivers. Bear in mind, they're on much older tyres, and we're going to see tyre wear being an issue, I think, throughout this race. Very much the nature of the Portimao circuit. When the World Endurance Championship came here a couple of years ago, the GTE cars of that time, the 911 RSR particularly, were getting huge chunking on the tyres because there was such load going through the rear left tyre that it was actually chunking and coming apart. So there really is, it really is hard on the tyres here, particularly coming out of that final corner, with those big elevation changes and high cornering loads which you get here at Portimao, which makes it such a special circuit to drive on. So Jason Hart comes up to the line then in number 91, Herbeth Porsche. What can he do then? They go up to third actually with a 1:45 flat for Jason Hart. Fantastic, really fantastic. So it's Santilok Audi from Grove Mercedes from Herbeth Porsche. Great job on the balance of performance front. 3 marks in the top 3 in GT3. As we mentioned, it's Red Camel Jordans who lead the way in the 992 class by about half a second from the Red Ant Racing crew. Then in third in 992 it's HRT Performance with Orchid Racing Team in fourth, and first of the 992 AMS it's the 907 RPM Racing, Philip Pamprecht driving right now. GT4, now we've got Patrick Niederhauser out there, so I suspect that was a driver ID issue earlier on. The Lion Speed Porsche sits on pole in GT4, just ahead by 0.2 of a second of the very impressive GSR Motorsport Ginetta, the all-Lithuanian squad. Adam Lacko for Bagheera ZM Racing, their Mercedes is third, and Thomas Leal in the W Autosport Toyota Supra in fourth. So minute 17 seconds left on the clock. No personal best lap times coming in though, Joe, which is a bit of a surprise.
Well, remember, Peter, that we've got a pretty well-used set of Hankook tyres on these cars now, and we are well towards the checkered flag to conclude the qualifying session. I do like this 3-segment aggregate time to give us to form the grid. It just allows, it gives all of the drivers, the 3 drivers that are competing in the session, it gives them a chance to actually contribute. And there's an even quicker time from Jason Hart, who goes quicker. Might even get another lap time in here. He's just crossed the line with about 35 seconds or so on the clock. A 1:44.6. He took a chunk of time. He was on a 1:45 dead last time through, so that was a good 3.5 tenths of a second he's taken from that. However, there's a red flag, so that's not going to be any improvement from Jason Hart, or indeed anyone, as everyone will now, with the track being red flagged, everyone will be making their way back to the pits, and I think that, Peter, will be a checkered flag on the qualifying section.
Yeah, I think it will. I think you're right, Joe. What a lap though from Jason Hart, just right there on really old tyres, 1:44.6. Big celebrations in the Santalot garage, because that will, we're getting confirmation now that the session will not be resumed, and that puts the Audi squad on top of the grid for tomorrow's race, with the number 91 Herb with Porsche right in behind them, and third that Grove Racing Mercedes AMG. And Diana Binks, she's right there, primed with the microphone, with Pierre Caffer, who put in a very strong time there in that final qualifying session, a 1:45.9. Great times from all of those drivers. Di, down to you.
Thanks very much, Peter. I think you can hear me. I am with Pierre now, who's just jumped out of the car. Quite a disrupted qualifying session ahead of this one, but were you quite comfortable that you had the time in the bag?
Well, you never can be really comfortable, and if you have seen in the really last lap from Herbert, the 91 was really pretty close to us. Yes, it was a really entertaining qualifying, let's say it like this, especially Q2. For Elia, it was really difficult to get a time there, but my run was quite clean, and I was just a bit surprised about the wind change what we have, because turn 1 is now incredibly late, and the hairpin, as you have seen, the most of the cars went far and not on the idle line, so that was quite a surprise. But in the end, yeah, we are really happy. I think we are the only one who are 2 times on pole here in Portimao, so it suits to our car, and we are really looking forward for the race, and thanks to all the Santilog crew and my teammates and all the partners who make it possible that we can race such a beautiful Audi R8.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a great team here, a great driver lineup, all complement each other, but just taking you back to what you said about the wind conditions out there on track, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because in the pit lane, you don't always get that sense until you suddenly see the flag start to blow quite badly, but of course the handling of the car is changing so much.
It is. It's also quite a big change in top speed of start-finish line. So there we knew, okay, the wind changed after the first qualifying, but in the end, when you just have 2-3 laps, you need to bring it on point, and sometimes it's quite difficult.
Is that where the experience and the feel of the car comes in for you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, my laps were far from perfect. If you have seen our quali sim in the last practice sessions, was much better for all of us, and but in the end we could manage, and we are quite happy and also proud to be back in the front for tomorrow for the 24-hour race.
Well done, congratulations, and we hope you have a great race, but well done to yourself and the team.
Thank you very much.
Such an experienced competitor, Pierre Caffer, and yeah, pole position with his teammates Michael Doppelmayr, Elliot Earhart, Sven Herberger and Philip Chatelet. And having 5 drivers in the car, well, that could be very helpful as we head into the heat of the weekend. So Audi on pole position then here at Portimao, but a last-ditch attempt there from Herbert Motorsport. Great lap from Jason Hart. Puts the AM-graded Herbert Motorsport car up into second. Grove Racing, watch out for them though. They're going for overall honours and nothing else. Brenton Grove putting in a strong performance there in that final qualifying session to put the car third. Herbeth Motorsport number 92, the fat turbo car. Robert Renauer getting the very best out of that Hankook rubber on that last session there to qualify fourth. Hoffer Racing, a story of what could have been for them. They were looking so strong in the early stages of qualifying, but unfortunately some sort of technical issue, we believe, really clipped their wings in that last qualifying session. They will start from fifth. Then on the third row, it will be E2P Racing, the Pro-Am outfit from Spain, in their 911 GT3 R991. They'll start from sixth. Then seventh overall and pole in 992. It's Team Breukers and Dance and Red Camel Jordans who sit seventh, top of their class. Fantastic. Eighth overall as well from the Vortex, the Vortex V8, Lionel Amrouche, Philippe Bonnel, Gilles Courtois and Lucas Suliano in their Vortex, the heavily upgraded 2.0. But never write off Red Ant Racing. They've qualified second, ninth overall, and in 10th it's HRT Performance. A good lineup there, a mixture of German, Swiss and Italian driver lineup there for HRT. Then it's Orchid Racing Team, the number 963, whose sister car unfortunately had an issue. So they will start from 11th. Then the top graded AM team in 992, it's RPM Racing. Tracy Crone, Nicholas Jonsson and Philip Hamprecht taking on the qualifying duties with Patrick Heusman waiting in the wings. They're keeping him fresh for tomorrow, and that's going to be great to see him out there again in a Porsche Cup car. Red Ant Racing sister car 904 will start from 13th. Then it's Homeguard Motorsport, a team, the brilliant Danish crew who used to compete in a TCR car. They've switched across to the Porsche Cup machine. They'll start 14th. Then it's Seb Lejeune Racing by Duo Racing, start 15th. Your pole sitter in the GT4 class is the Lionsby GP Porsche, the Cayman GT4 RS. Club Sport, very strong driver lineup there too. They will be tough to beat, I am sure. But they will be chased down in 17th place by the ambitious GSR Motorsport squad, the Lithuanian team with their Ginetta. They qualified second, out-qualifying championship regulars, Bagheera ZM Racing with their Mercedes. Then it's the French crew, W Autosport, with their GR Supra Toyota, and the lone Peugeot, the PRV TCE TCX class machine, qualified in 20th, and MRS GT Racing. They will start at the back in 21st place. So Joe, what can we glean from that qualifying session? What are your takeaways from what we've seen so far?
I think, Peter, what we saw there was not unexpected. It's not unexpected to see Pierre Caffa. I'm impressed with Jason Hart and all of the Grove team, so I think it bodes very well indeed for certainly overall honours. It goes without saying the 992 class and GT4s, they're gonna present us with a competitive 24-hour race. Small grids, yes, but quality very good.
So there were quite a few highlights in this qualifying session. Unfortunately, a couple of lowlights as well. 3 qualifying sessions we saw in the end, with Santaloc Racing coming out on top. Let's take a look then at the highlights and see what we experienced in these 3 15-minute qualifying sessions. So Santaloc Junior team on pole position with their Audi R8. Will they be able to convert that to a win? Well, they've got 24 hours ahead of them. That kicks off tomorrow, local time, 12 o'clock. We're live with the Coming to Green show half an hour before that, 11:30 local time. That's 11:30 in the UK as well. It'll be myself, Peter Mackay, my colleague Joe Bradley, and Peter Snowden will be coming in to bring in his expert analysis, and of course the wonderful Nick Damon and Di Binks in the pits for you. Make sure not to miss it. Join us on the Radio Show Limited network of channels, and indeed with the 24H series on YouTube. And who's going to come out on top? You'll have to tune in and find out. It's goodbye for now from beautiful Portimao.